In every family, there's a truth no one dares to speak. But what happens when that truth refuses to stay buried? This is the story of Ada, the daughter who thought she knew where she came from until a letter from the grave tore her world apart. The early morning sun cast a golden haze over the small compound in Umorguli village. The air was thick with the sound of women wailing, men sighing deeply, and children running barefoot on the dusty red earth. People had gathered from far and wide to bury Mama Shinya, a woman many described as kind, prayerful, and hard-working. But to Ada, her eldest daughter, this was more than just the burial of a mother. It was the end of a life she once understood. Ada sat beside the casket, eyes red and swollen from days of crying. She couldn't believe it. Mama was gone. She had held her mother's hand just 2 weeks earlier in the small room in Aba, where the family had moved after Papa died 10 years ago. Mama had been weak, coughing, her voice barely audible. Yet she insisted, Ada, when I die, check the bottom of the blue box. Don't forget. You must know the truth. At the time, Ada thought it was just the fever talking. Now those words haunted her like a ghost whispering in the wind. That night, after the mourners had gone and her siblings were asleep, Ada snuck into her late mother's room. Her heart beat heavily against her chest. The blue box sat in the corner, old, worn, locked with a tiny rusted padlock. She broke it open. Inside were faded wrappers, an old Bible, some passport photographs, and one sealed envelope addressed to her, to my first daughter. Ada, please forgive me. Her hands trembled as she opened it. The more she read, the colder she felt. By the time she finished, her knees gave way and she collapsed on the cold cement floor, shaking, crying, broken. My beloved Ada, I have lived with a secret that I never had the courage to say out loud. The man you call Papa is not your biological father. Mama's letter explained everything. Before her marriage to Mr. Okoro, she had fallen in love with a man during NYC in Jaws. His name was Joseph, brilliant, soft-spoken, and a Muslim. Her Igbo parents would never allow it, so they forced her to return to the East and marry someone from their village, Mr. Okoro, a widower with land and transport business. She was already pregnant with Joseph's child when the marriage was arranged. She tried to hide it, thinking the baby might look like Okoro. But as soon as Ada was born with lighter skin and brown eyes, rumors started. So Mama lied. She cried. She prayed. And Okoro accepted Ada as his own. But he never truly loved her. Suddenly, Ada saw her childhood in a new light. All the insults. All the times Papa said, "You too stubborn. You no even resemble me at all." All the times he punished her for things her younger siblings got away with. She remembered how he beat her once for hugging a male classmate and shouted, "You won't disgrace me like your mother almost do." Foolish girl. She never understood. Now she did. Ada cried until dawn. She tried to stay quiet. She tried to carry the burden alone. But pain can only stay hidden for so long. 2 weeks later, during a family meeting in Aba, her younger brother Emeka kept accusing her of being too bossy about Mama's funeral expenses. The tension exploded. Words were said. Insults exchanged. And then, without warning, Ada stood and shouted, "I'm not even your blood. I'm not Papa's child. Mama lied to all of us." Silence. Shock. Her aunt screamed. Her uncle dropped his chewing stick. Her sister burst into tears. Emeka froze, staring like he had seen a ghost. "What are you saying, Ada?" "I found a letter. Mama wrote it. Before she died." "Where's the letter?" "I burned it." Auntie Naki slapped her. "You burnt the only evidence." Foolish girl. Things spiraled from there. Her father's family demanded to exhume Mama's body to perform cleansing rituals, calling her a spoilt woman. Her siblings divided. Chica stood by Ada. Emeka refused to speak to her again. Her father's elder brother shouted, "She's not one of us. She should not inherit anything from Okoro's property." Ada's whole world fell apart. She lost her job in Port Harcourt shortly after, and no one in the family offered help. Even neighbors began gossiping. "So na bastard she be all these years. You go fee a secret." Broken, betrayed, and alone, Ada packed her bags one night and left Aber for Jaws, only 18,000 naira in her pocket and a mission in her heart: to find Joseph, the man her mother once loved, her real father. She had only a first name, a photograph of Mama with him in Joe's, and the name of the NYSC batch in 1992. She didn't know if he was alive or if he would even want her. But she had to try. If I don't find him, I'll never find myself. It was cloudy when Ada boarded the night bus heading from Aba to Jos. She wore an oversized sweater, her mother's head tie, and held her travel bag tight against her chest. Inside were only the essentials: her mother's photograph with Joseph, a small jotter, a cracked Android phone, and the weight of her broken identity. She hadn't told anyone in the family where she was going. They didn't care, or so she believed. But what Ada didn't know was that someone was watching her. Back in Aba, Uncle Boniface, her late father's younger brother, sat with his friend in a beer parlor. Boniface was loud and bitter. "That girl is planning something. You know, see how she shout for meeting. If that man we born him get property, she go collect We must monitor her." He paid a small-time boy named Sunday, a street boy who sometimes helped him wash his car, to follow Ada to Jos quietly. Sunday wasn't a professional, but he was desperate and obedient. "Just observe No, let her see you. Call me if anything strange day happened," Boniface instructed. And with that, a shadow began trailing Ada's every move. Jos welcomed her with cool air and unfamiliar faces. She arrived at the old terminus motor park just after 7 a.m. Her legs were sore, her lips dry, and her heart weary. She stood for a long time, staring at the photograph again, Mama and a tall, fair-skinned man with gentle eyes. "Joseph, where are you now?" Ada went straight to the NYC Secretariat in Jawstown, the only clue her mother had ever mentioned. Inside, she was told the files from 1992 were archived but could only be accessed by the retired NYS coordinator, a man called Pay Dunlady, who now lived in Rayfield. On her way to Rayfield, Ada boarded a tricycle with 2 other passengers. Just before the roundabout, one of them pulled out a knife. "Oya, madam, bring your phone, no waste time." Her voice cracked. "Please, it's all I have." The man slapped her hard across the face and grabbed her bag. They pushed her out before the keek sped off. She lay in the red dust, crying, scratched, bruised, and now with nothing but her mother's photo in her bra and N200 note she had tucked in her shoe. People passed her by. No one stopped. Until one woman, middle-aged, dark-skinned with kind but tired eyes, came from a nearby fruit stall. "My pikin, wetin happen? Why you day cry for road like this?" Her name was Mama Talatu, a widow who sold mangoes and lived nearby. Ada tried to speak, but words failed. She just showed the photograph and said, "I'm looking for this man. My mother knew him. I came from Aba. I've lost everything." The woman didn't ask too many questions. She simply took her hand. "Come follow me. You go rest first. We go talk later." Mama Talatu lived in a simple one-room apartment behind a mechanic workshop. Her daughter had moved to Abuja for work, and she was used to being alone. That night, Ada couldn't sleep. She kept hearing her mother's voice in her head, "You must know the truth." The next morning, Mama Talatu served her warm pap and bean cake. Ada explained her story, at least part of it. To her surprise, Mama Talatu knew the old NYSC coordinator. Ah, this man he used to teach in our secondary school in 1990-something before he traveled out. I think he lived near Rukuba Road before he left. Hope flickered in Ada's chest. With directions from Mama Talatu, Ada made her way to Padan Ladi's home in Rayfield. He was almost 80, frail but alert. His hearing was poor, but his memory was sharp. Ada knelt and greeted him respectfully. She showed the photograph and explained her journey. He squinted at the photo. Joseph Musa, Batch B, 1992. Him, I remember him. He was a very brilliant corper from Niger State. He studied engineering. He served here in Plateau and had a small apartment near Tudunwada. Ada's voice trembled. Do you know where he is now? Danladi nodded slowly. He left Nigeria after his service year. Said he was going to the UK, but I don't know if he returned. I haven't seen him since. But wait. He shuffled into a drawer and pulled out an old notepad with faded phone numbers. This was the old emergency contact he wrote his uncle in Jos. Try this address. Ada took it with both hands, whispering thank you a dozen times. What she didn't know was that Sunday, her stalker had followed her to Rayfield and had already called Uncle Boniface. Oga she day find one man one old man just give her address. She day waka up and down like detective. Uncle Boniface's voice crackled on the line good. Follow her again. If she day go meet that man, take picture. Send am to me. I go handle the rest. That evening, Ada stood in front of the rusted gate of the address given to her by Padan Ladi. It was an old bungalow surrounded by bush and broken cement. She knocked. No answer. She knocked again. Then a low male voice from inside asked, Who are you looking for? Ada took a deep breath, holding back tears. I'm looking for Joseph Musa. He might be my father. The gate creaked. The man stepped out. Her eyes widened. He looked exactly like her. The man who stepped out of the rusted gate, looked like a reflection of her own features, broad nose, light brown skin, soft brown eyes. He had a full beard streaked with grey and wore a kaftan with leather slippers. For a moment, Ada forgot how to breathe. You said you're looking for Joseph Musa? The man asked cautiously. She nodded, clutching her bag. Yes, my name is Ada. My mother was Chinya Okoro. You met her during your NYSC in 1992. I believe you're my father. His eyes widened. Silence hung like smoke in the air. Come in, he said finally, stepping aside. Joseph led her to a small parlor with old furniture and dusty photo frames. He poured her water and sat across from her, still staring. Chinya, he whispered. I never forgot her. She disappeared. Her letter stopped. I didn't even know she kept the baby. Tears filled Ada's eyes. She kept you in her heart till her last breath. She raised me, but she couldn't tell the truth. She feared disgrace. Joseph covered his face with his hands. We wanted to run away together, but her people came to Jos and took her. They warned me never to come near her again. I was broke, fresh out of NYS. See, I didn't have the power to fight. Ada broke down. I needed to know. All my life I felt unwanted. Papa Okoro never treated me like his own. Now I understand why. Joseph reached out and held her hand. You are mine. I see it. I feel it. You are my daughter. They both wept. It was the first time in Ada's life that she truly felt seen. Sunday gets caught outside the compound. Sunday, the stalker sent by Uncle Boniface, lurked near the side wall. He was holding his small Nokia phone, snapping blurry photos and whispering updates to Boniface. Unfortunately for him, Joseph's neighbor, Baba Aminu, had seen him the day before hovering near the house and had grown suspicious. He crept up behind Sunday with a long walking stick and smacked it across his back. "Who you be? What in you day find for here?" Sunday screamed. The ruckus drew Joseph out of the house. Ada followed. "Now this small boy I see yesterday too," Baba Aminu shouted. "He day peep this house like rat." Joseph grabbed him. "Who sent you?" Sunday panicked. "Please, sir. No beat me. One man for Abba give me 15,000 naira to follow her. He say she day find something way no concern her." Ada stepped forward, her voice shaking. "Uncle Boniface." Joseph's demeanor changed instantly. "They're following you. They think this is a joke. They still want to ruin her life after all these years." He turned to Ada. "You're not safe. You can't go back to Abba. These people are not just after your peace, they're after your identity." Ada was trembling. "I thought I was done with them. I thought if I found you, I could breathe again." Joseph called a friend, Barrister Idris, a quiet, sharp-witted lawyer who owed him a favor. He explained everything: the inheritance issues, the family's threat, the harassment. Barrister Idris assured him will protect her. "But if there's any property linked to her late mother, or Okoro, they'll likely go to court. We need to prepare." Back in Abba, Uncle Boniface received a video of Sunday being caught and beaten. He smashed his phone in anger. "Useless boy. Now she'll be ready for us." His plan had been to quietly monitor Ada, find out if her biological father was wealthy, and use the information to blackmail her or discredit her if she came for Okoro's property. But now he feared he had pushed too far. Joseph took Ada to a new, safer location on the outskirts of Jaws, one of his unoccupied flats. He brought her a mattress, stocked food, and even offered to enroll her in a digital design course. Ada looked at it and cried again. She wanted me to know, eventually. That's why she left the letter. 1 week later, Joseph received an unexpected visitor. A woman in her early 40s, tall, elegant, and wearing a black hijab, Halima. She introduced herself as his former fiancée and asked to speak with him privately. Ada stepped aside, but through the thin wall, she heard something that froze her heart. "You had a daughter with that Igbo woman." "Joseph, after all the years I waited for you, you never told me. And now the child is living here. What does that make me? What does that make your son?" Ada's breath caught. "Son." Ada stood frozen outside the guest room, where Halima's voice echoed like a dagger slicing through warm silence. "You had a daughter with that Igbo woman, Joseph, and now the child is living here. What about your son? What do you expect us to do, clap for you?" Ada's hands trembled. It wasn't just the anger she heard, it was something deeper. She had a half-brother, and he didn't know she existed. Later that evening, Halima approached Ada directly. Her tone was cold but polite. "I am not your enemy, but don't think you can just walk into Joseph's life and take everything. He has a son, and whatever property or legacy he owns, it belongs to him." Ada blinked, stunned. "I didn't come here for property. I came for truth." Halima scoffed. "Truth has a price. Be ready to pay it." She left the next morning, but her presence lingered like smoke from a burnt cloth. The news of Ada's existence had now unsettled two families, the Okoros in Aba and the Musas in Jos. Joseph called a family meeting with his lawyers and insisted that Ada be legally acknowledged as his first daughter. He updated his will, splitting his estate between both children equally. But that news reached Halima's son Farouk, a final-year law student in Zaria. Farouk, intelligent, but deeply bitter, saw Ada as an intruder who came to divide the home he had built in his mind. At the same time in Abba, Uncle Boniface had gone quiet. Too quiet. Uncle Boniface, driven by greed and desperation, had one last card to play. He visited a powerful native doctor deep in the forests of Naya. He brought goat blood, kegs of palm wine, and a strand of Ada's old head tie that Sunday had stolen before getting caught. She's not Okoro's daughter. She doesn't belong here. I want her destroyed, Boniface hissed. The native doctor nodded slowly. It will be done. But spirits don't joke with blood matters. This one is deep. That night, the ritual was performed. A charm was buried under Ada's name, soaked in curses, ashes, and red cloth. But what they didn't know was that Joseph had started praying, and that Ada's mother, Chinier, had once been anointed by a prayer group before her death. The charm backfired. At exactly 2:33 a.m., Uncle Boniface screamed in his sleep. He clutched his chest, crying out, "Fire! Fire! Why my bed day burn?" His wife rushed into the room, but he was already gasping. By dawn, he was dead. There was no fire, no wounds, just blackened fingertips and swollen tongue, the signature of spiritual backlash. The village whispered he'd used charm, but the thing turned back on him. Back in Joe's, Joseph gathered both his children, Ada and Farouk, in the living room. Tension filled the air like smoke. Joseph spoke softly. "I made mistakes. I should have told the truth long ago. But now I choose peace. Ada is my daughter, so is Farouk. My land in Rayfield, I split in half. My pension goes to you both. And when I close my eyes, let no one say the other is not blood." Farouk clenched his jaw, looked at Ada, and nodded once. "We don't have to be enemies, but don't expect me to hug you." Ada smiled sadly. "I don't want anything, just to know my name, and to be free." They shook hands. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Ada returned to Abba one last time, not to beg, not to fight, but to stand where her mother was buried. She wore a simple blue gown and carried white lilies. She knelt by the grave, whispering, "Mama, I found him. He remembered you," he cried. "And he loved me. Thank you." As she stood to leave, Emeka, her brother, appeared behind her. "Ada," she turned. "I'm sorry I was angry. I was confused. But I never stopped being your brother." Tears welled in her eyes. They hugged tightly, wordlessly. Ada returned to Jaws, now working as a junior designer for a real estate firm Joseph connected her with. She launched a foundation in her mother's name, the Chinier Truth Fund, to help women facing domestic rejection, family shame, and hidden paternity battles. Her first project, helping 3 girls in her Abba neighborhood complete their education. Farouk eventually visited her at the foundation opening, and although they weren't close yet, he smiled and said, "You're my sister, you're my blood." As the sun set over the hills of Jos, Ada sat in Joseph's compound, sipping Zobo, her head resting on his shoulder. "You did well, my daughter," he said. She smiled. "And I finally feel like one." Peace had come, not perfectly, not easily, but it had come. This is not just a story, but a story of every girl who has ever felt unwanted. The truth may hurt, but hiding it can destroy generations. Always speak with honesty, because healing begins with the truth. Thank you so much for watching this story to the end. If it touched your heart or reminded you of anything real, please don't forget to like, comment, and share with someone who needs it. I remain your favorite ebony storyteller, bringing you real, raw, and emotional African stories that speak to the soul. Bye for now, and see you in the next one.